This is JJ Humphrey, and we're back on Elephant in the Room. We got Mr. Bobby Cleveland with us today. And Bob, we got a very, very special guest, one of my favorite people, Teresa Turan. And me and Teresa have worked on numerous things, legislative things. She's actually worked kind of as a lobbyist on several many issues, but where we mainly communicate, talk quite frequently is on DHS matters, court matters, CPS, all of these kind of things that are going on that we're having to fight and battle every day. We were planning on Chico joining us, but she couldn't join us today. And so we hate that because they're kind of a pair. You usually see one with the other, and they're usually working on events together. But she's got she couldn't make it today. She had some things come up that she had to take care of, and so we've got Teresa. Teresa, it is awesome to have you on here.
Thank you so much for having me, JJ. We have a few years on us, and it's always a pleasure. You're definitely one of the ones.
Oh, we lost her right off the bat, Bob, and she had a great picture. And what do you want to bet she got called because she's doing it off her phone? So, Bob, while we're waiting on her to get back with us, one of the things that we want to talk to her about is they're going to have this big rally there in Tulsa. And again, that's going to be 9/22 of 25. So about a little over a month from now that they're going to have that. I'd gotten confused and thought that was going to actually. We got her back. Can you hear us?
Yes. Sorry, I don't know what happened.
No, that's okay. That happens sometimes. Technology in Oklahoma, we don't sweat it. And what you learn is Bob can talk through anything. So anytime it goes off, Bob just starts talking and just continues talking the whole time. So it's not.
Thank you.
So what I was telling Bob about is that y'all got this big rally coming up on the 22nd. That's going to be September. I'd had a little confusion. I know people won't believe that, but I'd gotten a little confused. I thought it was going to be this month. I was all geared up to go to it here next week. And then I think you told me, it said, no, it's going to be the September. So tell us a little bit about what this rally is for, what's going on with this rally, and then we're going to talk about what things y'all's working on.
Well, Chico has kind of been working on new projects regarding probate. What's been really great about this movement is when we began, we had one major issue that we were focused on. And over time, we've united with multiple other groups that are focused on, major issues that affect, court cases in family court, probate. We've got DHS issues, all of these different situations where we have been able to gather more people and more support. And to me, that's what's been, that's what's given us a bit more success as far as getting, information spread to the masses. A lot of people don't know what's going on until it actually affects them. And, by then it's too late. So we want to be a lot more proactive. And Tulsa it's a big one for us because, we did that grand jury petition there in Tulsa. So, we're looking at a lot of different cases right now. There's some that, haven't been ruled on. So the several cases where we've seen, improper transfers, not reviewing evidence accurately, combining cases that shouldn't be. You've seen all the same things that I'm talking about. And so what we want to do is come together for this rally. And of course, it's going to be in Tulsa, mainly because, Tulsa is one of the big ones where I see this happening. Like right now, I'm watching, certain district attorneys because, whenever they overstep their position and exploit it and basically develop emotions around it, they can't make proper decisions and, that affects people's lives. So, if we can figure something out before September and see what happens, that's definitely a case I want to focus on, without going into too many details.
Right. Well, I mean, there's so many cases when we start talking about cases and specific cases that we could, the Woolley case is one of the ones that we really, Chico's case is a big
Oh,
case. Daryl's case.
well, she's in Tulsa. That's a
Right,
Kunzweiler case.
right,
Yeah.
right. And the thing about it is, when you're talking about Garfield County, the kids possibly being waterboarded up there, we always like to say allegedly, but man, we've got some people that can bring testimony to that. And all of these court officials and all of the government have ignored, I mean, just completely ignored. And that's what's so frustrating. When I'm talking to people, like right now in Washington, D.C., people are upset. They're saying, how much do you have to have before people are charged with Russia hoax, with the Biden auto pen, with all the things that we've seen, whether it be COVID and the origins of COVID, whether it be Hunter and the laptop. Well, guess what, guys? We've got that going on in Oklahoma. Again, you don't hear about it on like a national level, but if you'll pay attention to some of
Yeah.
the programs like Elephant in the Room, y'all also got a program called, what is that, Page 6 Oklahoma? Is that right?
Yes.
Tell us what that
Page
is.
6 Oklahoma belongs to the people. Like, we have a group of admins that are just phenomenal with gathering information, remaining, anonymous. Of course, I'm not really afraid, so I don't have a problem speaking out about it.
Right.
But we mainly wanted to keep it, for the people and not make it one single opinion, one single organization. We try to work with as many people as we can, because if you don't have the support of many, then you're not going to get much accomplished. So Page 6 has really highlighted a lot of, you've seen a lot of the cases that, the Muskogee case with the little girl that was left out in the snow. That was a big one.
Right.
That one blew up immediately. I mean, that video went viral.
And I don't think that case would have gotten any of the attention had it not been for Page 6 and for pushing that out there, and several of us really coming on the narrative, and other stations picked it up. And again, but here's what's funny, just like we're talking about on this Washington thing, and what you're seeing here in Oklahoma, they'll have a little news cycle and you'll hear about it for about a week, and then guess what? It's off and gone. And if you start looking at the foster program in Oklahoma, guess what? That's not one case. That is going on all the time. Lots of stuff like that, and yet they just want to bury it and go, well, that was one bad case. Okay, we had one bad case, but the program's not bad.
I mean,
Yeah,
but we are getting national attention. Like, I've done interviews. I did an interview with the New York Times, so they are they are focusing very hard on Oklahoma right now because of everything that's come about. How many agency directors have stepped down? How many have been fired?
Right.
How much corruption has been found within our agencies? Like, you can't deny that we have a trend of all of these things happening at the same time, and say there's not a mass issue. Like, we don't have, and like you and I have discussed this at great length, is who is overseeing? Where is the transparency, if there is any oversight? And there's really not. And then with immunity, where's the accountability?
Exactly. And here's what I find, it's the same. There's maybe 10 people across the state that are really, really stepping up and that are taking these cases, whether it be from Grady County, whether it be from Tulsa County, Garfield, Wagner, wherever it is, Oklahoma City, all of these cases, it's the same group, and that's what they're trying to write us off as.
No,
it's just them again.
not anymore.
Like
I told you, like, we hadn't done anything with probate, and this event is uniting, and that's a lot. I mean, that we're talking about millions and millions of dollars and multiple cases, generations of cases that have been robbed of their, rightful inheritance.
You say robbed, how, in what way were they robbed?
I don't know the details of these cases. I know some of them, but I don't want to speak on them and speak incorrectly. But it's sometimes
I can speak on them. I know several cases, and here's what's funny, Teresa, when you're saying that, it's not just probate. it's adult services. We've not heard a whole lot from adult services, but I can come along and tell you I've got one case in Oklahoma City, unbelievable, but we got numerous cases of adult services where they're going in and taking adults that want to remain in their home, they're able to remain in their home, and they're not allowing them, and they're still in their Social Security, and they're still in all of their income to pay these nursing homes and to pay other fees that they're charging them. And again, these are more than capable people who are able, they need some assistance in the house, but they can pay and have assistance or get that. And they're coming in and taking them away from their family, saying their family's not doing any good. We can talk about child support. That's another big thing that's come along. Wade Reeves, I hope you don't mind me mentioning his name. You want to talk about an awesome case and just proving that the courts have just lost their mind. That is a California case that should have been set in California.
Yes.
They bring it back here. They turn everything upside down, will not answer, won't follow court procedures, won't follow. I've wrote them and I've laughed. They've got pretty nasty with me, but that's okay. I enjoy it. But again, we're looking at that. We're looking at family courts. I don't know if you paid attention, but they're, what is that? Mueller? Is it Mueller? I can't remember her name there in Pottawatomie County. I think it's Judge Mueller that the bailiff now has come out and said that she was favoritism, going against certain ones. If you had a certain attorney, you were going to lose because she's mad at it. She didn't like you. You're going to lose, making it very difficult. All kinds of things that this bailiff has come out and said that should have a major investigation on that judge. And in fact, on that entire court system should be investigated, just what that bailiff has come out. And I know 2 or 3 cases with that. But on this probate, Bob, what they're doing is that I've got 2 or 3 cases that I have been involved with. One, because the guy's crazy, I won't involve. He doesn't know it. I was trying to help him, but he went so plumb crazy that you can't help him. But anyways, I think he's got a legitimate beef. I think he's got a legitimate case where he had a bunch of family money and they put him into foster care. And I'm simplifying this because I know if he's listening, I'm simplifying your case because we ain't got all day to talk about it. But he was put in homes, and then administrators were put over the money. And guess what? Them administrators have robbed it blind. And again, they have kids that are being put in foster care. I got one right now where the kid was put in prison. And again, that even looks questionable that person was put in prison off behind a whole bunch of stuff that looked like they were trying to get her in prison just to take her money. And so again,
what agency would that be?
Well, with that's not as much as an agency, but they'll start involving police departments. They'll start involving the DA. They'll start.
And then you have attorney fees. That's kind of where they get it as well, is they jack up those attorney fees.
Well, and the court system, you have these lawyers. So you got these administrators who generally are lawyers sitting over all of this fund, and they start going after this person, and now they become the power of attorney and become all of what this fund is. And the next thing you know, all of this money, and again, we see this all the time when we see child custody cases and child welfare cases, that these kids that have these kind of trust funds or money in them like that all their money ends up going to the court, going to the lawyers, going to all this, and they end up broke when that money should be going towards their education, towards investment for them in the future. And we see lots of cases. I've had lots of cases brought to me on this, kind of out of my realm, but here's finally somebody who's coming up, stepping up and saying, hey, this is going on. It's wrong. The court systems know it. It's wrong, or at least correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I believe this guy's saying. I've read some stuff and looked at it. And so it appears like you finally have a champion that's going to step in and go, hey, the court system has abused this. A bunch of these lawyers have abused this. And now we're going to call it out. And that is awesome. I think that's a big deal that's getting called out. And I love it that Page 6 is going to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Guys, it's called Page 6 Oklahoma. So if you want to go pull it up, page 6, Oklahoma, and you can jump on there. Of course, you can always go to jj4ok.com. Hey, we're not updating that as good as we need to, but I will tell you this. We're going to start updating that JJ4OK Oklahoma, or JJ4OK.com, JJ4OK.com. And we're going to start putting that out because we're going to start with some things. Next week, we're going to come make a big announcement, and we're going to really kick off being even more active. I know y'all can't believe that, but we're going to get more active than what we've been. Hey, one of the things I wanted to bring up that we already had on here the other day that y'all brought this big time attention, brought it to my attention. I've got a friend that's a reporter that did the report, but y'all really got the word out there. And that was the case where we had a kid that was taken away from his parents wrongfully. The girl was addicted to drugs, went into a rehab, got straight when she had her baby. She'd been straight for that entire period of time, was not on drugs. The kid was not have any drugs in their system. DHS wrongfully walked in, took the kid illegally, in my opinion. They took their kid back. DHS stepped in and again filed an emergency order to take them. Again, didn't follow protocol in that. Gave that kid to the same-sex couple. And I don't know if y'all noticed this, but now there was a state the other day. I was trying to think which state that was that had voted that they're not going to give same-sex couples adoption rights. They're taking those rights away from them. I found that pretty interesting. But the problem, especially, not just the same.
Where'd you hear that at?
Oh, I read it today. Let me think what state that was. But yeah, they had it was a big deal that one of the governors came and was pushing that. I'll find it. But if you remember, the big problem in this wasn't just the same-sex couple. It was one of them was a pedophile. How do you end up giving a baby to a pedophile who ends up molesting another kid? And they just didn't give that kid. They gave 2 other kids to him. And so y'all broke that story. That was one of the stories that y'all broke. We had the reporter who did that story on with us about 2 or 3 weeks ago. But again, that was something y'all broke big time.
Was she registered as a sex offender? I'm just curious.
Well,
I mean, you would think they would do a background.
It was a guy. It was 2 guys. And what had happened was he was in Kansas. And I will tell you just what I know of the case. It looks like he perked on his husband. So, the 2 got married, but it looks like the victim of that case was probably his husband. And again, we're speculating. And then they moved to Oklahoma. And again, they had dismissed it up there because they don't view certain things as a sex crime, or they don't hold it quite as much as we do. They came to Oklahoma. He got a job teaching. You would think all this would be in the background. He gets a job teaching, and then they give him this kid, and then he ends up going on a cruise with his estranged husband, whatever you want to call it, and he ends up molesting a kid under 12. And so they get him, and the feds actually get both of them and the child and fly them back to Oklahoma. Basically, they were going to charge him. 9 days after he got indicted, he killed himself. And so it's that is a unbelievable story. But again, it's just one story in hundreds of stories. And that's why we're going around the state. So, hey, could you bring us up to speed? Because you've been very involved. Me and you both been involved in this on all of the grand juries. So as much as you can, Tulsa, Garfield, Wagner, I know you're involved in all of those. Where are we at on those?
Okay. In Garfield County and in Tulsa, we didn't get enough signatures. In Wagner County, we believed we had the right amount of signatures, but remember I was talking about that joint resolution that I want to work on. Right. What happened was the Supreme Court ruled, and the grand jury, and I won't try to go into too much detail of the technicality of it because I'll lose people in the numbers. But if you go to Article 2, Section 18, where it talks about the grand jury, it specifies that there is a minimum of 500 and a maximum of 5,000. And then it tells you to refer to Article 5, Section 5. Well, the Supreme Court ruled based on Article 5, Section 2, which is the 16% that's required of the previous governor election.
Right.
You have to get 16% of the involvement or the voter turnout for that. It would be in 2022 is what they're looking at. And so that is the number for the statewide ballot initiatives, which is the reference that they want us to, or that's where they want us to reference is how many signatures we need for the ballot initiative. Now, Article 5, Section 5 has a formula that is for the counties and the districts. And if you know anything about the citizens grand jury, is they are limited to the county, is just one county. So they're wanting to use the standard for the statewide, which is the 16%. And when I put together the spreadsheets to kind of give an overview of what that looked like, and basically the with the minimum and the maximum and the 16% being in place, you have counties that have to collect 77% because of how that's written. And then you have Oklahoma County that's only required to do the 2% because of the 500 and 5,000 minimum and maximum. Right. So my argument is this, is they're trying to use the statewide, standard, which is the 16%, then why are we limited to 45 days and not the 90 days like the ballot initiative process?
So everybody understands what she's talking about. If we do a statewide, across the entire state, as you've seen, state questions 780, 781,
788,
several of these state questions, then you have to do the 16%. But
yes,
if you're in a county, there's a formula. I thought that formula was half of that 16. I thought it was 8% is what I thought it was.
Well, the formula says you have to double the ratio. So you take the number of registered voters in the county and divide it by the registered voters in the state to find that ratio, and then you double that ratio. Now, you can see this in the Wagner County petition. That's a really good place to go to kind of have an understanding of why the judge ruled in the way that he did. He was referencing, it was Wagner County Commissioners versus King. And that is where the judge ruled on Article 5, Section 2 instead of Article 5, Section 5. And so in the argument where they basically asked the judge to rule on the required number of signatures, they brought up the formula, and of course, Jack Thorpe challenged it. And after Jack Thorpe had challenged that, they referenced, Muskogee County Commissioners versus King, which was the 16%. Well, then the Wagner County Citizens Against Corruption, which is who filed with the petitioners on this, what they did is they brought up the statute, which was Senator Bullard's SB 1027, right, which basically changes how and where you can collect signatures. So before, you can collect the 16% and you can go to Oklahoma County and you can go to Tulsa County and you can get all your signatures right there. You don't have to go to all these rural areas to collect signatures. And so what Senator Bullard's focus was to diversify the opinions, because sometimes what works in Oklahoma City, or Oklahoma or Tulsa may not work in, where I'm from, Lindsay, Oklahoma. So what it does in SB 1027 is it only allows 11.4% of those signatures to be collected in one county. So they try to argue that, but of course, that was Oklahoma Statute 34, and Oklahoma Statute 38 is where the grand jury petition.
But here's the deal. Again, Bullard's bill doesn't deal on, yes, it may be forced to go out to county, but it's a statewide petition. It's saying simply, on a statewide petition,
right,
you can't just go to Oklahoma City and get your signatures. You got to go to every county in the state and represent every county and state. Now we're talking about one county. We're getting a petition in one county. Totally different from a state petition in every county. Now, let me tell you something that I don't know if most people got on that. Bob, I don't know if you're listening to this, but check this out. Jack Thorpe, she mentioned that Jack Thorpe was the one fighting this. You know who Jack Thorpe is, Bob?
Jim Thorpe's brother.
No, Jim could run good. I don't think Jack don't look like he could run that well to me.
No, he's the district attorney at Wagner County.
Yeah, he looks like me. I would say that me and Jack could probably run the same race. I might be a little quicker than him, I hope. But anyway, Jack is the district attorney. Now, why that's important, I want everybody to hear you want to talk about corrupt, to me, this is where we do not have to look further for corruption, okay? When Jack Thorpe is the subject, how can you be the subject of this grand jury and yet you're the one in there arguing that? So in any court case, when you're involved in anything that you're involved in, you recuse. That's standard. I mean, that's standard. But here we got
conflict of interest.
Oh, it's a huge conflict of interest. And again, he doesn't even bother to recuse himself. No, he's in there, the guy arguing it, arguing the wrong facts, arguing, trying to make this sound like a state petition, which is a dirty dog.
No.
And anybody with any brain, and that guy ain't stupid. I'm not calling Jack stupid by far. Jack's a very clever. Jack is in fact, I would say he's got a lot of things done. He's on the DA council. He's one of the better known attorneys, district attorneys in the state of Oklahoma. But here's where I come back, just like in the Woolley case, he can't convict them, but yet they will withhold their kid. They will say, well, we know they're guilty. No, you don't know they're guilty. No. You knew, you'd get off your ass and go find them guilty, but you don't have the evidence because the evidence smacks against you. And again, that's one of the things that's part of this case. That's one of the things on the grand jury. Not that by itself, multiple things against him. And yet he's the one over here arguing in court to get that killed. Just like O'Coonsweiler was up there in Tulsa going
master manipulator.
Yes, going to these places where they're collecting signatures and threatening people.
Yeah, I mean the girl had a teddy bear. Like she had so much trauma that she had an emotional support teddy bear, JJ, an emotional support teddy bear that she is hugging as Coonsweiler is pointing his finger in her face and slamming it down on this table. She had no clue who he was.
And the deal is, it's illegal for him to be there. He's the DA.
But who's doing anything about it?
Nobody will do anything. Now, move over here to Garfield County. Here's what's funny. Garfield County, we've got a person who came forward as a whistleblower saying that kids are being waterboarded. This person has to go get, because they fire her, she has to go get a protective order against people to keep them from harassing her and threatening her. She's in there collecting signatures, and one of these people come in, snatch up the signature sheet. And I think they went out and burned it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the whistleblower that had the signature sheets. It was actually another volunteer. So that information kind of got crossed there. The other girl that, was the one collecting the signatures, like she's in the police report. But yeah, I mean, a police report was filed, and she literally the girl that burned the petition blamed the whistleblower to try to say that she was violating the protective order. So I have to really, clear that up, because it wasn't the whistleblower.
I want to point out two things, Bob. Two things. So that y'all know, before we came on, we were talking right before we come on, and I told Teresa she was wrong. And it turned out she had a text to prove me that I was wrong. And she's hit me twice. So I've been wrong. Put it out in the history book, Bob. Wrong twice today. I've been wrong twice today. But here's the thing. You got people going in, taking the signature page and destroying it.
Burning it. And admitted to it in a police report, admitted to burning the signature pages. Yeah.
And again,
nothing was done.
The police worked it. The police did work it. But guess what? Not one thing. That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And here's what's funny, like over there in Wagner County with Jack Thorpe doing his.
Jack and Joy, the couples went and screamed at one of the volunteers. Yeah.
Yeah, and Joy, his wife, who is she Claremore? Is she over at Claremore?
Yeah.
So she's an ADA.
Rogers County, isn't it?
Rogers County. I think that's Claremore. And so again, there's some other cases that seem there's a lot going on here that needs called out. And when you call it out, who do you call it out to? You know, do you go to your AG? Because guess what the AG's going to do?
We already know he's not going to do anything. I mean, you've seen how many cases we've sent him, how many legislators had signed letters requesting these investigations. I've reviewed the evidence. You've reviewed the evidence. Like, I don't know what else we could possibly do. And it's just very disheartening. Like, I don't want to have to file these grand jury petitions. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of money. You know, nobody's funding our efforts. You know, we are self-funded.
Right.
So every time I do one of these and it's not successful, you know, it's disheartening. But the people don't understand it. Until they understand what it's for, then, you know, it's kind of hard to gain support.
And what happens, you got them out there who are public figures who are going out and saying, oh, it's this little band of, and that's what they're trying to do. But that's why we're trying to have rallies. That's why we're trying to get page 6. That's why we're trying to have elephant in the room, so that people get on here, they start hearing about what's actually going on. And again, on these petition guys, we don't have lawyers. We don't get lawyers come in and write all this up for us and give us a big gob of paperwork that we go out. Guess what? It's you show up with your own copiers, with your own paper. You show up with your own gas, with your own people. You go out door to door. You go out all over, and you try to get these signatures while they're up there saying, oh, they've just lost their mind. But again, how many cases do you have to have? We have Grady County, we have Oklahoma County, we have Wagner County, Garfield, Tulsa, and we got multiple cases in every one of these, and we don't scratch the surface on what you get called, I get called, Daryl gets called, Mandy gets called, and all these people that are working these cases. You know, it's just unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And then to have that Pottawatomie County DA get up, back us all up, turn around and have all the bailiff for the judge come back and go, hey, what he said, what that DA just said, let me tell you, is 100% true. I will sign an affidavit saying it's true. Put all of it in, and guess what? What have you heard? You haven't heard. And AG comes out, well, there's not enough evidence. Well,
is that Panter? Did you talk to Panter? I know you were going to set up a meeting with him, with Adam Panter, the district attorney there.
I wrote him, but I never got a response back, I think is what I'd have to look at. But again, I mean, I want to say 5 representatives and senators wrote letters behind him saying, I wrote a letter, Dana, I think Jet, Gilner, anyways, there are 5 or 6 of us wrote letters saying, hey, we support everything that he said, and we want to see a multi-county grand jury. And he come back and said, well, there's just
not enough evidence. I don't know how he doesn't. I mean, he's not looking at it. Oh, I wanted to bring up another topic real quick, because you had mentioned, you know, how they're going in and taking people's belongings. And one of the major topics that, you know, Kiko and I have been focusing on for 3 years is private guardianship, and how the way that the system works currently is they don't have to process serve you. They just have to mail you a letter within 10 days, and you could leave on vacation, be back, and have lost your children.
Right.
And that's what, you know, in Chico's case, they exploited the private guardianship and the fact that it was private. Of course, when they criminally charged her, then she was able to talk about her case. But how many cases are we not hearing about because of private guardianship being closed?
Absolutely. And that's the big, big ploy that they're using. And we understand. Hey, listen, nobody wants to expose a child so that that's hung around their neck for the rest of their life, that they were sexually abused or that there was some other abuse, or bring everybody in. Nobody wants to see that. But again, the Department of Human Services cannot hide behind what they're saying is there to protect the kid. So they can't allow abuse to continue like they have done at Enid with the, at Tulsa Detention Center. Oh, we can't talk about that. We can't talk about it. We know kids are being molested, but we can't talk about it. Again, you can talk about it. We can talk about kids being molested without sharing names, without telling anything.
Exactly.
Hey, this is going on. We can give the kid a number. We can give the kid kid A, kid B, kid C, whatever. And again, when we're talking about Greer in Enid, where kids were possibly waterboarded, yes, you can talk about were kids waterboarded without sharing names. You can give details into that fact to say, yes, it did happen. No, it did not happen. That is a bunch of hogwash. Bob, it's the same thing. And Bob's got a lot of experience on this. We deal with DOC all the time. And DOC does the same thing. They hide behind and they say stuff is confidential that is no way confidential. And they'll say, oh, well, we can't discuss mental health. That's fine. Then don't discuss their mental health. But did you lock them in a room and leave them 3 days?
Yeah.
That ain't got nothing to do with mental health. That's got with human rights violations. Did you do that? And guess what? We're not able to talk on that. We're not. Well, I guess you don't want to talk about it because it holds you in wrong.
Well, there's a protocol. Like DOC has very specific guidelines on how they need to handle like suicide watch and what level you need to diagnose them at. Like most of the time it's a simple just watching them. It's not locking them in a separate room and torturing them. Like that's literally what I've seen happen. I know one case right now where the girl was arrested and she was like just traumatized, put into suicide watch. Like we all know that wasn't even the case, that she was just, didn't shut up when she's nervous. That's just who she is. But I actually heard recently about Eddie Warrior, how they have a serious black mold issue. A lot of the inmates are getting really, really sick. So I'm glad that you brought that up because they were in there cleaning these facilities using bleach. And from what I gather, that's not really how you do that.
I got pictures of it. You wouldn't believe what those bathrooms look like. And here's what's funny is, Bob, that's been almost, I don't know, it's back in wintertime sometime, that they had a propane line that busted. They weren't going to fix it. They went in there and told all them women, just get used to taking cold showers. You're not going to have hot water for a couple of months is what they said. Me and Bob went on another podcast that we do on Fridays and called it out. And that afternoon, they were doing video of them out there fixing the line. We're working on this line. I was laughing, going, they ain't even.
Hey, no, I know a girl that's in there right now she's been like very, very sick. Like you get the sinus infection, upper respiratory infections. I mean, it's just, and you could hear it in her voice. Like, I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. Bob, what do you got to say, man? You're being awfully quiet, Bob.
I'm taking it in, JJ. I'm just taking it in.
Are you absorbing all this? Because we're throwing a lot of information out there, Bob. So, well, how much, going back to the grand jury there in Wagner, and one of those cases is going tomorrow. I know they've got a hearing, and the DA was, the AG was ordered to look into that case. Good luck with that. I'll believe it when I see him do something. But here's the thing. How many signatures did they say that you fell short, that we fell short?
I believe the final count was 3,200, something like that. And they needed 4,000, I'm going to say like 4,300, 4,200, something like that. I don't remember the exact number. I think it was 4,298 or something like that.
It's about 1,000. In Oklahoma County, we knew we were going to have a difficult time reaching that number. And, we weren't much more. I think we were pretty close to 1,000. We had some signatures that there was an argument started, and some were, they had gathered them, but then they didn't bring them in. And then when they brought them in, it was too late to count them.
Yeah.
If we would have had them, we would have been pretty close, I think. But we kind of knew that we were going to have a difficult time. One of the things that we did, now this is what's funny to me, I just laugh. So we put on all the proof of what we would go to grand jury and we would file. And so if we got in that grand jury, we were going to have all this proof that shows all of these cases. So here's the deal. Under the Kelsey-Briggs Act, it requires that if a judge knows that kids are being physically or sexually abused, then they have to do an investigation. So we attached this going, doesn't really matter whether we get the signatures or not. They're going to have to do an investigation. And guess what? Then they come back and go, we're not going to accept this. We're not going to take these. And so, you know, how do you say we're not going to take the petition? We're going to take part of the petition. You can't take part of the petition. You got to
No.
take the whole petition. And anyways, we tried to get it in 2 or 3 ways, and finally I emailed it and attached it as a electronic email attachment, and we sent that certified so we can prove that that judge has gotten that. Now the judge never had a hearing, so really, if you look at the Oklahoma petition, it's not closed because we never had a hearing to officially close it, hear it, or anything. So I went and filed a amicus brief with the Supreme Court. Me and another guy kind of calculated all this up. He did more calculating, I did more footwork. Anyways, we went over and dropped that on the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court's supposed to give me oral arguments, but I'm betting that the Supreme Court kicks it out because I'm too short or because they don't like my cowboy hat. Some major legal precedent would want to start following the law. That would throw us off. But we got a little plan for them. We're cooking a little extra, staying a little late in the kitchen. We're cooking up a little extra. I don't want to go out yet and start talking about it a little premature, but I'm going to bet you that next month or so, we're going to drop a bomb it's going to be heard all
Well,
over.
she didn't. That judge from Oklahoma County, you know, because I kind of kept up with that one. Now we didn't draft the Oklahoma County one.
Right.
We worked specifically on the Tulsa because the two were going at the same time.
Right.
But what we did in Tulsa was whenever the judge was supposed to rule on it, it specifically says in the Constitution that on the first one they have 4 days to rule. Whenever the you know they either throw it out or say, you know, this is what you need to fix, and then you have 2 days to resubmit it, and then they have 2 days to rule on it. Oklahoma County, they didn't even pay attention to any of the deadlines. Like, they didn't follow any of the deadlines. Like, I remember you guys were, I mean, I don't know how long it took for the judge to rule on it, but I mean, it was like weeks after, because they were both filed at the same time.
Absolutely. And one of the things they said, well, we hadn't hand carried it right down there to the judge. Well, I've been an official of the court. I've been an officer of the court for quite some time. And when you take stuff to the court clerk, that is the judge's file. That's the court. And you go dump that in there, they're going to take it to the judge. So he's saying, well, we didn't hand carry it down there. I like this judge, okay, personally. I kind of like him. I don't have anything animosity towards him. But again,
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you, but call it like it is. Hey, we're going to call out people that I like. I got people that I love that we're going to call out, that I love, that we're going to call out because
just do better. That's all we're asking is just do better.
Well, here's the deal. When it comes to kids being sexually molested at detention centers, when it comes to kids that are at a mental health facility being possibly waterboarded, and you won't even look into it, you know what we're asking? Let's do an investigation. Let's see if this is real. Let's see if this actually happened. Now, who?
JJ,
heck
probably 50% of the people who are incarcerated got mental health problems. What's the state doing about that? Nothing.
Well, you saw what happened with the director of mental health. That's another agency that, you know, had a shortage of funds. You saw all that.
I just want to say that I prophesied that before it happened. Months and months before it happened.
Well, because you filed that bill to put the mental health department under DOC. Exactly. Remember?
And I was laughing. Everybody come out. Oh,
they thought you were serious.
Oh, JJ, what, you done lost your mind. I was like, no, you got to have it before you can lose it. But here's the deal. Y'all listen up. You're getting mad at JJ. Don't get mad at JJ. Get mad at those people who have no beds, who aren't paying their people anything, that aren't doing any mental health. And everybody's going to prison. Everybody's going to jail. Marbles.
I haven't lost them. I'm just letting you know. See, I got them all.
You probably picked them up in my office. Those that fell out my ear right there is what I figure is what my mom. But here's the deal. That's why we're incarcerating all these people that we should be catching before. So when they come in with these mental health, when they're talking to Gumby or Zombie or whoever, and we go, hey, that ain't quite right. You got a little mental health issue. we ought to get them down there and get them a little help. Instead, we go, hey, you can leave, and there's some methamphetamine down there on the corner. It's probably got a little fentanyl in it. It'll probably help you go down there, get you a bump of that. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're doing. We're turning them loose until they commit a crime that is so heinous that they either got to be locked up in jail for a long period of time, or we get tired of messing with them in jail because we know they're going to sue us, and we send them to the Department of Corruption. That's what we do. Correction, not corruption.
Well, you saw what happened over in Wagner County. That poor girl with the diabetes. You know, they put her in suicide watch, had no clue that her kidneys were shutting down.
Right.
Like, that's just one issue. You know, that obviously I know that case pretty well because of that petition.
But here's the thing.
What happened to that girl?
She died. She died nude, covered in her own blood and feces. And do you know what the sheriff of the county said when they did the deposition? And I listened to all the depositions. He said, well, we did the best that we could do. They laid her face down on the floor when they took her in there. And that was Smolin, you know, I think it was Don or Dan. I think it was Dan Smolin. He asked those officers, was that the best you could do? Because that's all they kept saying was it's the best we could do. The best you could do is put a lady face down in the middle of a cell. Nude.
And so everybody that our listeners know, Dan Smolin is the guy that's suing these jails constantly, and has won millions and millions of dollars because we're dealing with all this in the county jail level that we aren't equipped to see. Instead of having the answer, this is what I don't get. If I was a sheriff and I had my deputies and I had everybody, I would have them trained to say, we are not equipped to be a mental health institution, nor are we equipped to be a medical facility. We are not a hospital. We are not, you know, but then you also have to be able to have common sense and go, hey, I think that person right there looks like everybody dead. You don't need a medical degree to understand that.
No.
And that's where the lines get blurred, is when you see these people, you know, hey, he looks a little blue. I wonder if he can't breathe. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we have some oxygen, you know, and then he dies and you go, well, I'll be damned, he's dead, you know, Who would have thought?
When your kidneys are shutting down, you're hallucinating. Right. So even then, like, you know, she has type 1 diabetes. Like, that's one of the symptoms.
Yeah.
Like, when your blood sugar gets low, you lose your mind. And I've been around, you know, at a very early age, I was around children that were that way. Like, they would just start going, like, insane. And that's in the charts. Like, it wasn't a secret.
I've been around a couple of them, but they ate mushrooms. They ain't a little bit goofy, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that'll do that.
That will do that. You want to see somebody get plumb crazy? Go. We used to let them go fish out there at the prison, and we let them. We worked at a minimum. I did, and there was a bunch of mushrooms out there, and they'd pick in mushrooms, and they get goofier than a run over dog. I guarantee you, they'd go plumb crazy. It was quite funny, you know. You'd have to take them back there on their bunk every once in a while. One would OD off of it, and we'd have to take them to the hospital. They go. I thought
mushrooms were not good for you. I mean, they kill you. Just a
regular mushroom. Some of them.
Yeah, you know what? Right now they're saying that these mushrooms have potential to really on autism. Bob, you might be surprised. I read up on a few things, but on autism. That they're saying that it has potential to actually help several illnesses, not just, but mainly neurological. That's all.
It works as an SSRI, JJ. What it does is you have a receptor in your brain called the 5-HT1A receptor that's responsible for producing serotonin. So a lot of these ailments, especially depression, PTSD, like there was a bill, it was Representative Pay had tried to get through, and of course it made it through committee in the House, but you know it was going to Rosino's committee, and you know it wasn't going to get through there. You know, getting stuff to Rosino's committee is one of the hardest things. We know that.
I think I voted against it because they did a very poor job of getting the information out on the medical. And again,
well, it was research only. It wasn't to legalize it. It was just for the purpose of research, and it was specific to veterans.
They didn't do a good job of getting that information out there. And again, we see so many good intending bills that get
Mhm.
just plumb crazy and sideways and unintended consequences. Well, tell me,
Like private guardianship reform. I want to bring that up again because we filed that same bill 3 years in a row. You filed it the first year. Senator Prado filed it the second year. And then Representative Williams filed it this year. And this was to require process serving for private guardianship. I mean, if you're going to sue somebody in civil court, it requires process serving. Why would private guardianship, where you are taking control of either an adult or a child, would there not be a process serving? I mean, I don't understand how they've gotten away with that.
I filed the bill. I'm down with it. I'm all with it. I think it's just common sense. But again, common sense has no place at the Capitol building.
We even put a portion that included on how to deal if abandonment was the case. Like, you would have to prove abandonment, because that is the case in some areas. And of course, you don't want to leave those people with the ability to be able to, take in these children and take care of them when their parents won't. I mean, that was put in there for that reason. So we put the abandonment clause in it this year when we filed with Williams. And then now what we want to change is there is wording that says you can get private guardianship out of convenience. We need to change that language.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, hey, so that I want to just kind of run down what we talked, because we've dropped a lot. So guys, deal. Page 6, Oklahoma. Page 6, Oklahoma. You start paying attention, because these guys are reporting things all over Oklahoma, whether it be the same-sex marriage, adoption with a pedophile that ends up killing himself, whether it be probate where they're abusing, taking kids' money, taking family money away from them, basically robbing. It's legal robbery is what it is. They just a bunch of lawyers find a way to milk these families out of their entire inheritance and trust funds. And so, guys, this is going to be utmost important. I'm glad we finally got somebody who's got some experience coming off on that. We're keeping you up to date on all of these grand juries. We're keeping you up to date on the DA who called this out, up to date on the judge that now has been brought out that she's been illegally handling these cases, tampering with these cases, that she's had prejudice on these cases. We're talking about all of the cases, the Woolley case coming up here pretty quick. We talked about several other cases, what wins we're having. We're talking about how the AG is doing absolutely nothing with a mountain of evidence, absolutely nothing. We're going to keep calling him out. And so, again, all of these grand juries, we've had one in Grady, we've had one in Garfield, we've had one in Oklahoma County, we've had one in Tulsa County, we have Wagner County, and I think there are more to come. And we're
going back to Tulsa. Tulsa is definitely a target for us.
I hear Wagner County said, hey, we can get those votes that we need. And I think that they're going to be. So again, and the fact that Jack Thorpe, how in the world, who's going to call that out? Mr. AG, do you think that's a little corrupt? Do you think that's got a little problem? The guy who's the subject of the grand jury in there arguing to kill the grand jury. Well, I don't think he's got anything to gain from it, does he? How about the Tulsa DA, one of the biggest DAs in the state, going and threatening people, going out threatening this, and you won't do anything? And what about the people who steal the daggum signature page and go destroy it in Garfield County? What are you doing? What proof do you got to have to say that there's nothing going on? These grand juries, it's against the law to threaten these people and do things that we're seeing done. And again, we're going to keep on. And again, we're not just talking about it. Others talk about it. Washington, D.C., talk, investigation. Hey, we moved past that. We're out here. We're the people. We're getting a petition. We're taking it right to them, and we're going to get her done. They think that they're going to get rid of us. We're going to keep coming back time and time again till we get it done and we get this change here in Oklahoma. Teresa's one of the main fighters. She's a fearsome fighter, and she is somebody to be reckoned with. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you, and we'll give you the final word. Hey, when you're giving the final word here, tell us where that's going to be. It's September 22nd What
At the BOK Center.
at the what center?
BOK Center.
What's that? You know what?
The big
Ben?
center in Tulsa.
Yeah, it's going to be in Tulsa this time.
That stands for.
I don't remember the time. I'm gonna have to look at that. I will let you know before we post this. But like I said, if you have a case, if you know of a case, if you've dealt with corruption in the system, if you feel like the agencies haven't worked for you, if you are a victim of, probate fraud or any, thing related to private guardianship, guardianship through the state. Of course, DHS is one of the biggest ones. We're really, really focusing on that. Come out and give your support. Like, I've never seen this many groups come together, different groups across the board, different topics. I mean, we've realized the importance of getting people involved and getting those numbers because, we have a lot of things coming up. Like I said, we want to work on a joint resolution. These grand jury petitions are going to be refiled and new ones will be filed. Like, we're going to go full force because we want the three main things we've always said: oversight, transparency, and accountability.
Well, here's the advertisement that's going out on it, and it says, "Help us make history. Focal point of accountability, justice for all, full transparency in our courts. 9/22/25, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The vocal point of accountability is a movement demanding transparency in our courts. We are calling for cameras in every courtroom and judges' chamber to protect due process, uphold equal rights, and expose judicial misconduct. Justice must be seen to be trusted. Speakers, state senator, food truck, DJ and live music, media coverage, family friendly, bring signs, share your story." Hey, they left off one thing. There's a representative going to speak here too. Hey.
I will update that. I mean, I know a good one.
Possibly a candidate for state office, possibly a candidate for the.
It's going to happen.
Oh, lieutenant governor could happen. Y'all stay tuned for a Monday night announcement. Tomorrow night, we may have a big announcement we're going to roll out. So anyways, this says at the Tulsa County Courthouse. Tulsa County Courthouse is where that says. So you guys.
I was mistaken.
You're good. Hey, I got you. I just wanted to point that out.
That's one for me, two for you. We're good.
How could you get the courthouse for that kind of a meeting?
What's that?
How could you get the courthouse for that type of a meeting?
Well, it'd probably be out in front of the courthouse. They can actually get that, most likely. Hey, y'all stay tuned. We'll be putting these out regularly so that y'all know exactly where at what time. It'll be great. Hey guys, it is time we show up. It is time. The only thing that's going to change this in Oklahoma is when the people get involved. I know you're busy. We're all busy, but let's get out. Let's show our support. Let's let our voices and presence be heard. And again, get involved in this petition. That's the only way we're going to change it. We're not counting on the AG. We're not counting on the Oklahoma government. They have failed us miserably. We're counting on you, the people. Let's stand up and get her done. Hey, thank you for coming on. Bob, I appreciate you much. Y'all have a blessed day.